Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel, CZ.fit here, and today I thought I'd do a sit down chit chat to talk about my post show feelings, my experience as a first time bikini competitor, and just some of the challenges during prep and post prep that you guys might find interesting to know about. And then finally I'll go through some of the questions that I did receive on my Instagram. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this video, and as always, make sure to give it a like and subscribe to my channel because it really does support your girl. So let's start off with, I guess, my experience as a first timer. If you guys have been following my journey, you know that I competed as a first timer this year in 3 shows. My experience, I think, I would say it has been the most challenging but rewarding journey and experience that I have put myself through. It's definitely taught me so much about myself in terms of where my strengths and weaknesses lie. And I think it has definitely helped me grow as a person. So for example, I remember, I think it was like 8 to 10 weeks in, I hit a point, like I would say it was probably the rock bottom of prep for me, where I was so emotionally just gone. Like I was so sad. I was crying for no reason. Like I still don't know if it was my hormones, and it was just like, you know, the initial point of my body being like, what is happening? And it was just a shock. Like I don't know what it was, but I remember going to the gym a few times and just crying, like for no reason. I would be sitting there on the machine and suddenly my eyes would just start tearing up and I would just start sobbing, and there was no reason for it either. And I just felt like I was in this hole that I couldn't get out of, and I couldn't explain why I was feeling shit, but everything was just making me sad. Part of it, thinking back now, was definitely triggered by the fact that I am someone who really pushes myself at the gym, and it frustrates me. And it frustrates me when I can't, you know, hit a new PB or do better than last time. And at this point of prep, I was getting to a point where my strength started to kind of fluctuate a lot, and that really just played with my mind. Like I felt weak, and to kind of overcome this, I realized that there are things in life that you can't control, and when you can't control these things, don't dwell on it and don't let it affect you mentally, because if you do, then it will just keep draining you out and there's nothing you can do about it to even fix it. And for me, that was my physical fatigue. Like I set myself down and I was like, okay, look, like I cannot change the fact that my body is tired. Like, well, I could if I just started eating more and like stop, you know, exercising as much, but I can't because I'm on prep and I have this goal of getting on stage and I want to win my shows, and to do so I know I have to do these things that my body don't like. So I said, well, I can't change that, so what's the point of letting it drag me down mentally as well? From that point onwards, just kind of reminding myself that, it made things so much better. Like I dug myself out of that hole I was in. I remind myself that when I go to the gym, it's about smashing in every session and treating every session individually. So I stopped comparing what I was lifting to a month ago, because I realized it's not realistic. Like if I'm not fueling my body the same way, how can I expect my body to react and perform the same way? So that was definitely something that I learned during my first prep. My experience in terms of actually like competing and show day wise was really lovely. The girls I met and have met through Instagram and on show day have become some of my closest friends. Like I still keep in touch with them. They're genuinely so lovely. You'll meet, I guess, different types of people, and this can be said for anything, and I think in any sport as well. Like some girls, they will be there for you. Like even if it's someone you've never met backstage, you know, you had girls helping each other with their bikinis. If someone needed a rice cake, they'd be like, oh, I have rice cakes, like do you need some? Like do you need water? Do you need this, that? Like do you need to go to the bathroom? I'll come with you, like I'll help you. Let me fix your tan and all that stuff. And it's just, it's so warming to be in that kind of environment, because essentially it is a competition, but at the same time everyone's looking out for each other, because we all understand how much work each and every girl has put in to be at, you know, to even be on stage. But then with that being said, you will have to expect to have, you know, the opposite, because again, just like any sport, anything in life, there are always going to be people who are just out there for themselves. And I experienced this more in my second show, where a lot of the girls, they kind of looked at you, but not in a way where it was like, oh, I love your bikini, like you look so great. It was more like, will she place above me? Like it was more like them being very competitive, and I totally understand that. Like, I get why people can be like that, but yeah, that's something that I would say definitely just realize there will be two types of people backstage and two types of girls and competitors. And yeah, so like overall my first time experience was definitely one of the highlights of, to be honest, my year and my life. Like, I've never experienced something so rewarding. I guess because you have to invest so much time into it, and you have to put in so much work, that it just makes it so much more rewarding when you finally get to that end point. And I think that, you know, goes really well in kind of saying that with anything in life, if it's something worth achieving, it's not going to come easily. Now, in terms of show day, I thought it was to be quite useful just to kind of give you guys a breakdown on what kind of happens, how to prepare yourself. You will get your base tan done the day before or the night before, and then you'll have it develop overnight. So usually you stay at a hotel by the venue, and then the next day you get your hair, makeup and top layer coat done, and then it's show day. So usually makeup starts quite early because everyone's day is really packed, and it's a lot of just kind of rushing around getting the small things done and glamming up. Big advice here is to bring a robe. Like, it was a lifesaver for me. Firstly, it's nice and big and baggy, so you don't have to worry about it ruining your tan. It's warm. A lot of times the backstage area isn't very warm, and because you're on such low, like, little body fat, you pretty much find yourself freezing all the time. So having a robe was like just having a blanket over me the whole time, and then like you kind of feel like a little princess walking around in a robe. So like, win-win situation. But yeah, and I also put in a list of things to kind of pack down in the description for your convenience. And another good website to look at is also Compact Women. They have a lot of advice on, you know, competing, show day stuff, and just how to prep yourself properly in terms of like skin prep and everything, because there's a lot that actually goes behind it. Now, with that first time experience being covered, I thought I would talk about where I am now, the post-show kind of challenges and how I'm facing that. If you guys have been following my journey, you know that I competed in 3 shows, so it was pretty much quite a few peak weeks back to back, and I got very accustomed to that. I got very used to, like, you know, having that one night off after a show and then getting back straight into it, having that structure again, and then doing the same thing for the next week, checking in with my coach every day, ticking off those same boxes, and then going to another show and repeating. So I would say, like, the day after my last show, which was exactly a week ago, I really felt lost. I kind of woke up and I was like, okay, like, what do I do now? Like, and essentially my coach gave me 2 days of just intuitive eating. My next video will be pretty much me, like, what I ate in a day of intuitive eating, so keep an eye out for that. But for me, it was just weird because I got so used to being like, okay, I'm back ready to, you know, go on another peak week. I'm ready to get back on track. And so to have those 2 days off, it was really nice just to experience living like a normal human being. But it was also like really confusing. Like, I just found really lost. And then if we move on to, I guess, like physical and mental changes. Physical changes wise, obviously I have so much more energy now. It's hard to explain because I think you'll never really understand it unless you go through it yourselves, but the physical fatigue that you feel during prep is something, like, I just don't know how to put into words. I remember like trying to put on leggings and shorts and just struggling. Like, at the gym I was exhausted just putting on my leggings because they're tight and you have to like pull them up, you know. But like, to do that during prep, I sat myself down this one time in the gym and just had to like take a moment to just like recover because I genuinely was so tired from that. And it sounds like, and I'm not even exaggerating, like, I'm not the type of person to exaggerate my feelings at all. Like, I play down a lot of things and I'm kind of like, oh, that was easy. Like, when something's tough, I'm like, it's fine, we'll be fine. But that genuinely, like, it hit me. I was like, wow, I'm so tired. And even like walking up and down stairs, putting plates onto a barbell at the gym, it became so much. And even just like everyday things that you would never think of as a struggle, for example, like just going to the grocery shop, I was like, oh, I have to walk there, which sounds pathetic, but like, you genuinely get to a point where your body's just like, I have nothing in me. So now, physically wise, like, I am so full of energy. It was strange to me just to walk to and back from the gym and feel like I could keep going. Like, it wasn't even a thought to me to be like, oh, I have to walk back home. It's like, oh, I'm excited to walk back home. Like, I have enough energy. Oh, I need to pop down to the store. Okay, I'll go. So yeah, that has been amazing. But I think there's like this part of me that also misses the physical fatigue because I became so used to it, and it was almost satisfying and rewarding knowing that there was something greater coming, like I was getting closer to my goal. A way to kind of explain it to you is, you know, if you think back to a stage in your life where you're super stressed and you had like a deadline, and it becomes the only thing you think about and you keep pushing towards it, and even though you're stressed and you're tired and you're drained, it's almost addicting to be in that state. And then when you finally, you know, finish a project and it's all handed in, it's relieving and it's so rewarding, but afterwards it's kind of like you feel lost because it was everything that you thought about and now you don't have it anymore. So I guess that's a way to kind of try explain how I feel. And in terms of mental, I think the biggest challenge would be the weight gain and not seeing the scale weight drop, because I've been dieting from May, so all I could think about, like my whole life and everything I did every day, was to tick off boxes that would get me closer to my stage goal, like a stage level of leanness. So that was, you know, cardio, food, or training, checking into my coach with a new low weight. And so when you suddenly have a change of goals, and it's no longer so much about like losing weight, and it's not so much about getting lean, seeing new lines in your body, becoming more conditioned, going to the gym and seeing more striations, it becomes very weird and you almost feel like you're moving backwards. And so since last week, my weight's increased by 2 kgs. Obviously a lot of it is also water weight because I'm having a lot more carbs and they store water, but at the same time it's expected because my food has been increased by so much, and I am in a phase where I'm now reverse dieting and trying to increase my calories, my metabolism back, and just to grow. And that being said, it is hard because weight gain in itself is not easy emotionally at all. I think it's definitely like really important just to focus on the things that you do have now and your new goals, because you'll have different stages of your life, and you know, the stage before during prep is not about health, you know, it's about getting to a point where you're competitive on stage. But then when you come out of that, you have new goals, you have a life to live, and you have to kind of remind yourself that those are the things that you need to focus on now. It's going to take time, and like I'm saying, like I'm struggling with it myself, but it's going to be something that you do have to remind yourself and work on, that, you know, there's so many more things to life, there's so much more to living. And with that being said, currently I am at 2,250 approximate calories on my training days and 1,850 calories on my rest day. So this is where I'm currently at on my rest diet for the first week. Cardio has just been 8 minutes of HIIT post-workout, so it's super chill. Steps are at like 11k, again super chill, and the goal is essentially for the next 4 weeks to increase my calories, to continue successfully reverse dieting, getting my training back to the same intensity as it used to be. It's definitely not something that I can see being super easy, because one, again, the mental changes, the physical changes that happens to your body, you know, I think a lot of people don't talk about it. For example, like body dysmorphia, it's hard to understand if you don't experience yourself, but like it's crazy because I know that I haven't gained that much fat and I pretty much look the same to the naked eye, but because your mind is so used to how you look stage wise, and it becomes your new normal, any small changes or deviations plays tricks on your mind. But again, you just have to remind yourself that it's all in the head. So again, it's just about focusing on how you feel physically. Like now, the fact that you can go about and do daily things and not feel fatigued, the fact that you can go live life, go have a social life, see friends, family that you probably haven't seen in a while because prep just took up your time and you had to be selfish for yourself during prep. So yeah, it's just about like really just focusing on what there is else to life, because there's so much again to living than trying to be lean and then, you know, trying to diet and show like that's not your whole life. So again, that's something I'm definitely trying to remind myself. So yeah, and now I'm just going to move on to some of the questions that you guys gave me over on my Instagram. I've just kind of saved the ones I thought would be really interesting for you guys to kind of hear about. So the first one: how did you get used to putting faith and control of your diet in someone else's hand? Honestly, like that's a really great question because it was never something I really thought about. I think when you sign up, like when you look for a coach and you sign up and actually invest your money into a coach, you kind of have to do it already knowing that you trust him. Like, you can't, like, there's no point in paying someone for their service and then questioning what they're telling you to do, like, you know, what they're telling you to do with their diet and your training. If you're going to spend the money, do so knowing that you have 100% faith and trust in them, or just, and if you're questioning it, then maybe perhaps they're not the right coach. Like, there would be times obviously where I'm like, oh, I don't feel comfortable eating this much. Like, it's about open communication as well, so just telling your coach. Okay, second question. So, were you surprised at the mental changes as you drop weight? I think, again, that's a really interesting question, because I don't think, like, mentally wise, there were that many changes, because I've never been really emotionally kind of attached to my weight as such. Like, I always saw the numbers as more scientific. I just loved kind of learning about how, you know, my weight correlated with the type of training I was doing, foods I was eating, how my body was changing over prep. So it was never really mental. I think the mental changes kind of have come in now that I'm in a different stage where I'm increasing my weight, reverse dieting, and building up my metabolism, gaining some body fat to a healthy level. That's when the mental changes come in, because weight gain isn't easy. And I think because we grow up in a society which is so focused on weight loss, that when your goal is no longer that weight loss and you see the scales increase and the increase is supposed to become the normal, that's when your mind kind of gets a bit confused, it gets a bit uncomfortable. So I think definitely the weight loss part was fine mentally, but now it's a bit more challenging. Third question, the thing that surprised you most on your show day? I think this would be show day, but also like just before show. So the pre-tanning. Basically, you get your base coat tan the night or day before your show, and to get tan you essentially have to be fully butt naked. So I arrived to like the tanning venue, got in line, went inside, and I just like was faced with like 10 naked girls just standing there like this, or like bending over with someone just spraying them and their, you know, their parts. And then the lady was like, okay, just strip off, put all your clothes and belongings here, and then just stand here and wait to get spray tanned. And because I've never experienced that, I was like, okay, I just strip off. So yeah, I just kind of took my clothes off, put it in a basket, and stood there butt naked. And for me, that was just like, I obviously knew I had to get butt naked for a spray tan, but it was just like a really weird initial experience. But it was really funny, because towards the end, like in the second show and the third show, you just end up talking to all the girls, and you're in a room full of naked girls just kind of chatting. The last show was funny, this girl had nipple piercing. The girl beside me was like, oh my god, I love your nipple piercing. And like, yeah, it's funny because it's an experience that I never would probably go through if I didn't compete. Also, just how lovely the girls were. They'd help you with your bikini. If you needed an extra rice cake, they would be there. Like, all these small things. It was so supportive, and the atmosphere was incredible. I just lost a page of my screenshots, so. Fourth question, post-show weight gain. What are you expecting or planning, and how to deal with that? So I kind of touched on this before, but post-show weight gain, it's inevitable, it's normal, it's mandatory and necessary, but it's hard, and it's hard to accept. It's something that I think everyone knows is necessary to reach back up to a normal body fat level, but it's hard to accept because what you've spent like the past half a year fixated on dropping weight and becoming leaner. What are you expecting or planning? So I was actually talking to my coach about this last night, because as I said before, I was struggling because I am someone who needs routine and structure and to know what's happening in the next week, month, 6 months. So I asked him like, what's the plan? Because right now I'm just lost. I know obviously it's to come back better for 2021, but right now I need something closer in mind. And so we talked about our goals. Essentially, next 4 weeks we want to get my weight up to 50 to 51 kgs whilst bumping food as high as we possibly can. Obviously with the weight gain, I'm just trying to remind myself that your weight is not everything, and it is also important that my weight is increasing. So when I do have a check-in, my new goal and my new expectations are no longer to see my weight drop, and that when my weight increases, it's something that I should be expecting. Also, how to deal with it. Yeah, so it's about reminding yourself how you feel now that your body is fueled properly, and also that there is so much more to life. Like, you have to remind yourself that your health is your wealth, and obviously during prep that is not your priority, but after prep, after dieting, your number one goal is to work on your health, work on building up your food. So yeah, that's how I'm dealing with it. I'm not gonna say it's easy though, because I have cried a few times because I just feel lost, and I got so used to prep. This level of leanness became the normal for me. So yeah, it's a challenge, but it's something that's very necessary. Fifth question, what was your favorite part and least favorite part of prep? Honestly, I enjoy prep so much, like so many aspects of it, just as like strange as it sounds, because it was obviously really fatiguing and it like took up so much of my life. I really enjoyed prep, and I think my favorite part of it was learning so much more about myself, really kind of seeing how far I could push myself, my body. Again, probably sounds crazy to some, but it's very satisfying, just, I don't know, challenging yourself. And like also just the people that I've met through prep, like the amount of girls that have become my really close friends. I'm so grateful with so much of prep. I think I live in a city, so the sirens are always going off and it's so annoying. So ignore that please. My least favorite part of prep probably was just the physical fatigue and like the feeling of exhaustion when you're just trying to do everyday things. Because for me, like the diet and like the cardio was fine, I actually enjoyed it. The diet was fine because it became very much routine. The foods were like, I'm not a picky eater, I love food, and like I love any types of food. And when you're so focused on a goal, you just have this tunnel vision, like it's not something you really think about or complain about. So for me, I think the toughest thing was definitely the physical fatigue, because that's something you really can't change. Like you cannot make yourself feel more energetic when you physically do not have energy. And it's like, you know, small things like getting myself in the bathtub and trying to scrub my skin to get it prepped for tanning. That was hard, like that was really draining. Cooking, those small things, even like lying in bed, I couldn't sleep. I could feel the springs and my mattress dig into my back. Training, like when I was sitting on the ground, it hurt because it was just like my bones on the ground. So those things were definitely probably the worst parts of prep, but even like they were nothing compared to like every part of prep that I loved and really enjoyed, hence why I kind of miss it. Next question, how do you go about finding / sorting out hair and makeup for show day? Honestly, all the makeup artists and hairstylists, they're all freelancers, so they're all over Instagram. So it's actually quite easy just to scroll through different like show pages, talk to different girls who are competing, and then you'll find a lot of people who are very talented, so it's a lot easier than you'd think. Final question, how did you deal with hunger and what did your family think of it? So hunger wise, I never really got too hungry, because I think you get to a point where your body kind of just becomes numb to it. I would wake up in the middle of the night and not be able to sleep because my body was hungry, but I just got so used to that feeling that for me it wasn't like hunger. But a few things I did was definitely drinking sparkling water and flavored sparkling water. That just filled up my stomach, kind of blowed me up, but it helped me feel like full. And then just getting myself out of the house, like always having like a power list of things I wanted to get done, so that I was always preoccupied. And when you're busy, you kind of forget about, you know, your hunger cues and all those other things. So just having something to do every day. And in terms of how my family dealt with it, like I am so grateful for having the most supportive family. I don't live with them, they're in New Zealand, so I guess that made it easier because they couldn't really see like my fatigue and stuff, and they weren't there to like question anything. Oh my god. But even like when I called my mom and stuff, she was like, I understand this isn't healthy, I understand like this is just a stage in your life and I'm so supportive, but just make sure that you focus on your health after this show, and it can't be like, you can't always be prepping. And she's so cute, she was like, oh, at least your meal plan's super clean, like it was just like chicken, tuna, broccoli, oats, you know, potatoes. So she was like, at least it's really great foods that, you know, really nourish your body. It's just, it's not much, like there's not enough of it, but at least it's clean. And I was like, you know what, bless you, like thank you for that. Like she always looks at the brightest side of things, which really helped me, because you know, if she was there questioning my hunger, questioning how much I was eating and just worrying, I think that would have really set my kind of mental state off as well, and then it would have made me worry about my health as well during prep, because again, I am someone who really preaches balance and like holistic living, but obviously that is very different when you are in prep and that is not your priority during prep. It is after. So that's, I guess, how my family dealt with it, and they're so supportive. Those are basically all the questions. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it gave you a bit more insight on like show day, my experience as a first timer. I am gonna keep you guys all updated on my reverse diet and my weight gain journey over on my Instagram in terms of like what I'm eating, what I eat in a day, my weight and my training, how I'm feeling mentally. So definitely go follow my Instagram, which is cz.fit. And other than that, please give this video a like and subscribe to my channel. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!